He joined the Communist Party, and then he made a name for himself by going after dodgy businessmen and corrupt officials. This guy, Trump is this guy's perfect enemy, man. He's gonna destroy Trump, man. For ages, we've looked at America as like the be-all and end-all. For years, no one can compete with America. It was like number one in so many fields, and now I think Trump's pushed his luck a little bit, because I don't think even he might not realize just how overwhelming an opponent he's taking on. China isn't the freaking Taliban, man. And even with the Taliban, America struggled. This is the thing with America, like, it was all good, like, going after people like Saddam and Gaddafi and people who just couldn't compete, who, by the way, America still messed up with. They went into Vietnam and they couldn't take Vietnam, and now they're going after China. Why are you going after China? You don't understand who you're up against, man. Xi Jinping's a beast, man. I was looking into Xi Jinping a little bit this week, man. This guy's got a seriously interesting history. When he was still just a teenager, he was cast out to the countryside. His dad worked for Mao Zedong, and Mao Zedong purged his dad in like some mass purge during the Cultural Revolution. Xi Jinping had to flee to the village. The man lived in a cave, bruv. No water, no electricity, no hot water or anything. And when he finally came back and tried to make a name for himself, he joined the Communist Party, and then he made a name for himself by going after dodgy businessmen and corrupt officials. This guy, Trump is this guy's perfect enemy, man. He's gonna destroy Trump, man. I was having this thought the other day. America is kind of becoming a bit like Russia. Not entirely yet. It's not quite there yet. But you know what Russia does with places like Ukraine and Georgia, where it goes, right, do what we say or we'll attack you. And then Georgia and Ukraine and people go like, no, we don't want to do what we do. And then Russia attacks them. America isn't far off from becoming that, man. It's doing what Russia does, albeit in a less militaristic way. It's just doing it with tariffs. So right now, Trump is basically going up to countries in the world and saying, do what I tell you to do, otherwise I'm going to put tariffs on you. And a lot of countries are going to be like, no, bugger off, man. Like, this is the thing. Like, I have historically been very loyal to America and Britain and Western civilization. But when it comes to geopolitics and playing the game well, you can't afford to be too committed to any other country based on cultural affinity, because it's not always economically pragmatic. You have to go off with which country serves your national interest. And right now, Trump is actually just being a bit of a bully. He's not necessarily what's in our best interests economically. So let me give you an example. So Tesla makes a lot of electric cars, okay? It's one of the biggest electric car companies in the world. And I think for a while, Musk thought it was easy game. It was going to be super easy to just size Tesla cars because no one could compete with him. But now China has this company called BYD, and they're making electric cars for similar quality to Tesla, but for much cheaper. And if Trump is going to keep bullying people and pushing them about and ordering them to do what he tells them to, Britain could easily open up its borders and start importing more cars from BYD, and that really screws over Musk, right? BYD is already selling more cars in Europe than Tesla is. And, you know, Tesla's market share in China recently has plummeted, man. No wonder Musk is walking out on Trump. Because I imagine he's pissed. Because Trump's moves are just making him poorer. This is the thing, like, I think something had to be done about China, by the way. And again, I've been very clear on this channel. I'm not anti-China, I'm not anti-America, I just see great powers competing, right? If push comes to shove, I would support my own country, which is Britain, and then America, because they have historically been our allies. But realistically, there's no good guy, bad guy here. It's just a game of great power politics. I actually think China's done a much better job on the global stage over the last 20, 30 years than America has. It's actually looked after its people a bit better. Okay, well, some people say it's left a lot of people behind. But in general, its economic policy is much more sound in some ways. They didn't neglect their industry in the same way Britain and America did. Britain and America completely neglected their industries. It's insane. I don't think Trump's policies are the right solution here. There was that little part of me that rated Trump because he's like this go-getter from the who made a name for himself in the 1980s, making buildings, remaking New York. Trump was a baller back in the day, man. Trump was the guy, man. He'd walk into the building and all the eyes would be on him because he had this nice suit. And back in his day, he was a very good-looking guy. Tall, nice hair, good-looking, man, had the nice watch. Man, Trump was the freaking guy back in the day. When he was in real estate, he was the guy. But as a politician, I don't know if I rate this guy that much, because I just think he's making one blunder after another right now. He is literally shunning all his alliances, man. There was this guy who wrote a paper in the early 2020s, and the guy basically saying it's already too late for America to compete with China. You can't take Xi Jinping, man. He is so OP, and I'm going to go into how OP Xi Jinping is in a bit. But the paper was basically saying you can't take this guy. You can't take this country. They're too powerful. Xi Jinping has 1.4 billion people under his command. 2 million soldiers. Britain's got 20,000, man. We can't even fill up a stadium with our soldiers. And America, still the greatest army in the world, but in so many other domains, man. Look at these stats that I'm showing you. China has 400 warships. According to Foreign Affairs, that's 105 ships more than America. It's innovating in the fields of biotech, AI, quantum computing. They're developing hypersonic missiles, right? So, you know, in 2021, China deployed a hypersonic missile that orbited the Earth before hitting its target. They got there before America, man. I get that Trump's having to do something radical to change it, but he is shunning all his allies. The paper said that if America had any chance of winning this great power competition, it had to stay true to its values, and it had to work with its allies. And Trump has neglected both, man. He's totally upfront about how corrupt he is, and it's super suspect how committed he is to the Constitution. And then in terms of his allies, he's just beating them up and pushing them out. You saw what he did to Zelensky with freaking JD Vance. Made a video on it, by the way. Check it out. And now you see what he's done with Canada and like Mexico and Britain. I don't even think he has to do anything to Britain, because he knows he owns Britain, man. Go watch my video on Vassal State where I break down how much America owns us, man. Again, there is that part of me that rates Trump, but I think as a politician, it's just not, it doesn't look like it's working right now. Like, Xi Jinping is just gonna freaking own him, man. You have to understand, Xi Jinping lives with the memory of the Century of Xi, right? China is a really proud, ancient civilization. That's what a lot of people in the West don't understand. They look at China as some like backwards country. Like this dude, like this country is 4,000 years old. It was ahead of Europe before Europe got ahead of it. Okay, it made a couple of wrong moves in the 17 and 1800s, which is why it got into the situation it got. And believe me when I say, when it got into the rut, these Europeans, back when Europe was in its prime, back when you had like British Empire and French Empire and all these players, they went and took the mick out of China, man. They went over there, took parts of the territory. Britain legalized opium in China just so that the British entrepreneurs can turn a profit. And suddenly you got all these Chinese people getting addicted to opium. And for 100 years, or over 100 years, 1839 to about 1949, these powers humiliated China. They took the mick, brah. And now China went, nah, we're not having it anymore. And Mao Zedong was the first to rise. And like, you know, Mao's got his problems, by the way. Don't get me started on Mao. But, you know, he's the first who started to rebuild China and go, nah, we're going to be a great power and you can bugger off, basically. And then, you know, after Mao comes Deng Xiaoping, Mao was like the first to lay the foundation. And then Deng Xiaoping comes and builds China up economically. Has this great quote where he's like, it was like in 3 parts, like hide our, what was it? Keep our secrets, hide our capability, and take action, or something along those lines. Deng Xiaoping makes a killing, and then you got a couple of Chinese leaders in between them who just don't get much of a mention. And then you get Xi Jinping, who lives with the memory of the Century of Humiliation, and now he's back on the world stage. China's back on the world stage. Like, come at us, bro. What are you gonna do? And I'm not saying China's gonna attack. To be honest, I think America is the more hostile power in this relationship. I want to be clear on that. But I also understand why America has to, because America's been top dog for so long. It's not just gonna sit back and just allow China to, you know, take Taiwan and take the South China Sea off it. You know, America's a very proud country. And this is the thing. You got two ballers in Xi and Trump. And also, Xi Jinping isn't the most outspoken. Xi Jinping is not Trump. He's not coming out going, I'm going to make China great again. He's very quiet. He's very into, like, he's more of an introvert. He's a bit more, like, mysterious and, like, you know, but he doesn't have to. You know, I read an article, I think it was in Foreign Affairs or Financial Times, which is for years with Teddy Roosevelt and all these players, right? All these American greats like Abe Lincoln and George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, FDR, JFK, my guy, man. He said for years, the mantra for American leaders was speak softly and carry a big stick. And now Trump seems to come along and speak loudly, but then he carries a very little stick, and that American capability is smaller than it's ever been. And and apparently, according to this guy, he doesn't even take that much action. I disagreed with him on that. I think Trump was very hard on Iran in his first term, but look, that's a story for another time. I've been going on for a while. I want to get into the bulk of this video, by the way, which is on how his industrial policy, I think, is not very well planned, and also how he is getting on the nerves of some of his wealthiest donors, right? So you've got to bear in mind that Trump's come in and he's placed tariffs with the intention of bringing manufacturing jobs, well, manufacturing, not necessarily manufacturing jobs, but manufacturing back to the USA. You know, he wants companies like Apple and Tesla and all these people to come and develop their factories in the United States, and he's had a little bit of progress with this, mainly thanks to Biden's policies. With the Chips and Science Act of 2022. Got a video on this coming out very soon on how big tech's basically taking over government. Keep an eye. If you guys, by the way, if you're enjoying the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe. World Order covers all things geopolitics, macroeconomics, and big tech. I also do the World Order red and black labels for those looking for higher forms of storytelling. It is my ultimate mission to do to this century what Walt Disney did to the 20th. I am gradually getting there, either Walt Disney or George Lucas. As this channel brings revenue, I'm going to start pumping it back into the animations and give you the greatest space opera, the greatest sci-fi, action, adventure, fantasy, and operatic series of movies you've ever seen. Okay, by the time I'm done, I'll be up there with Lucas, man. You will never have seen anything like it by the time I'm done. Go watch Teen Story, go watch The Tragedy of Prince Faisal, and keep your eyes peeled, because there's lots more good stuff going to be coming out very soon. Back to the story. Trump wanted to get these players like Cook and Musk and people to come build their factories back in the United States. And look, in a recent survey done by CNBC, or whatever it's called, CNBC, they interviewed a whole group of people, which I'm going to put up on the screen. And of all these business leaders and experts and so on, only 80% of them said they weren't seriously planning on manufacturing in the US. Trump's had a bit of success with companies like Nvidia and stuff, but 80% of these people are saying, no, we're not going to do it. Or if they do it, they'll be employing automation rather than employing people. This isn't some kind of recreation of the 1950s where you got all these people finding manufacturing jobs again. That's not going to happen. A, because I'm not even sure how much Americans want that. And B, because it's not feasible. Americans demand too high wages. And this is the problem. Trump doesn't seem to actually have an industrial plan. It's very, it takes years to develop an industrial plan. China's got a fantastic industrial plan, but it wasn't working for years, man. It took them decades to actually develop it. It takes decades to build those skill sets, man. And Trump Trump doesn't even seem to be willing to cough up the money for the infrastructure for it. They don't have the skill set for it. By the time that companies establish their factories in this area, they're just going to be using robots, man. Elon Musk is going to create, I'm telling you right now, this is not speculation, but I can tell you right now, Elon Musk is going to create an army of robots, and they're going to just do everything, man. Or the people who know how to use the machines are going to take over. Back to the story. There was a bit of beef between Tim Cook and Donald Trump, by the way. So, they had a little bit of feud on social media, and, Trump's like, bring your factories back to America, and Tim Cook's like, nah, man, it's just way too expensive. And, Tim Cook has started making moves, by the way. He has started taking iPhone production from China to India, so there was a 76% rise in the iPhones being made in India in April this year, and there was a 76% drop in iPhones being made in China in the same month, which tells you quite a lot. So there is movement. The decoupling has begun, but whether they'll bring their industries back to America, I don't know. Look, I'm not saying there won't be some traction. I think with some companies you will get some traction. You've got the whole Stargate project taken off. Oh my god, I can't wait, because Stargate's going to be a part of the next few videos. But they're taking that very seriously, because they genuinely believe AI is going to be the future. But for a lot of companies, man, especially a lot of legacy companies, you got a lot of car companies. So before Trump and Xi agreed to reduce tariffs a month ago, there was a group of 4 or 5 car companies like Toyota, GM, and a couple others, Volkswagen, I'll put the names up on the screen, who gave him a letter, and they pleaded with Trump to reduce these tariffs. And Trump basically said to them, develop your factories in America and it won't be a problem. And a lot of these companies, there was an article in the Financial Times today about how a lot of these people are just turning away and going, nah, man, you're just making life way too difficult, man. There's that famous story in history when, King John turned on the barons, and the barons went, bugger off, man, you're not coming after us. You're not that powerful. We're going to take you. And they ended up forcing him to sign some kind of the Magna Carta. And I think this is the thing. Has Trump now gotten too big-headed, where he thinks he can just basically tell the elite what to do? Because history shows that you can't, man. The Russians tried to get rid of their elite, and then they became the elite. This is a fundamental pillar of this channel, by the way. I am like center-right. Like, I have some conservative values about the inevitability of hierarchy and duality, and ultimately the inevitability of tragedy as well. And I think you can't escape hierarchy. I don't think you can. You can have a communist revolution and it'll turn into something much worse than the imperialism that came before it, basically. If Trump gets too carried away, you might have like a second like Barron's War or something. Like, can you imagine Musk teams up with Zuck, teams up with Bezos, teams up with Cook, man? Can you imagine, man? And then I shouldn't be trumpeting these guys too much, because then we're already kind of owned by them anyway. Every time I make a video, I'm giving something back to them. It's alright, man. I'm going to be in the next Walt Disney. It's going to be fun, man. So many companies struggling right now, man. It's so, like, honestly, it's not just like General Motors, who, by the way, can't make cars without the magnets they need from China. This is such a huge problem, by the way, because I was going to talk about this. So, you know, a lot of it's not like China's the only place with rare earths. You can get rare earths from other places of the world, like Australia, and even America has quite a lot of rare earths. It shouldn't surprise you. Look at it. It's a huge country. You're going to find some rare earths somewhere. But the problem is the fact that you can only process these rare earths in China. Or like, China has 90% of the world's processing power for rare earths, okay? So, you know, for those that don't know, when you dig up a rare earth like aluminium or something like that, which you need for magnets, right? You can't just use it straight away. You have to like break it. You have to break it down into crumbs. You have to like purify it. You have to do all this like factory stuff before you can turn it into the rare earth that you can use. And China possesses 90% of the stuff you need to do that. And, you know, so when Trump puts tariffs on China and they put tariffs on us, we're just as badly hit as they are. We need to pump lots of money into our infrastructure, both the UK and the US, if we want to be as self-reliant as China is. And that's going to even add to even more to the debt. And, you know, the question now is, where are we getting this money from? Do we just take money out of certain sectors? Which is what Trump and Musk did, by the way. Musk is gone, but his men remain. They're just cutting huge branches of the government because of this primary problem. They need to save money and invest it into infrastructure without adding even more to the debt, which is insane. And I think Britain's going through something similar. Again, my emphasis is typically on the big players like Russia, China, and America, you know. And people will say, hold on, Britain's a richer country than Russia. Yeah, but Russia has way more autonomy than Russia doesn't take stick from anyone because it's his own thing. It's his, you know, Britain just does whatever America tells it to do, which is why I still analyze Russia more than Britain. Don't get me wrong, I'm very proud of my country. We're a better country than Russia. We have liberal democracy here, which I rate, actually, though the extent of it you can definitely question. You got arms industries, dude. You got like Boeing and Lockheed aren't actually too bad. Apparently they found ways to be self-reliant. But you got companies like Raytheon who can't even make their missiles or whatever it is that they're making without parts from China. I could easily see a situation where more and more countries simply side with China, because China's the one who's actually been fairly decent with them in ways that America just isn't. We don't have to take your stick anymore, man. That's what a lot of countries are going to say to America. We don't have to take this anymore. You're not even that powerful. I mean, America can't afford many wars anymore. They can't afford to do what they did in Iraq and Afghanistan because the world knows it doesn't really work. They didn't get anything out of it. They lost trillions of dollars. America lost trillions. America spent, freaking Bush and Obama spent trillions of dollars playing hide and seek with bin Laden, man. They wasted trillions of dollars just playing hide and seek with this clown, man. and yeah, Obama got him in the end, but after 10 years and trillions of dollars wasted? And that was for that was for a man in a cave. Now Xi Jinping is also a man from a cave, but he's now in control of the most powerful country in the world, I think. When you look at the entire package, I actually think China is now more powerful than America. I said it earlier, America's one step away from becoming a Russia. It's one step away from just resorting to military might, because that's all it has left in some ways. It's got a good group of billionaires, but how loyal are those billionaires to America? That's the other question. I can't wait. There's this great article in Foreign Affairs by, I think it was Ian Bremmer, who is, quite a name, and he wrote it's called The Technological Paradox. Go check it out if you haven't already. He wrote this great article on, what's happening with tech and the United States? Is it at a stage where they're balanced? Is it at a stage where tech is still subordinate to government? Or are we at a stage where tech has now overtaken government? That the government works for tech, basically, big tech. You know, Elon Musk left Doge. He stormed out and, you know, he complained about Trump's tariffs. Right? He just said it on his platform, his X platform. The tariffs are a really bad error, or something along these lines. I'll put the quote up. I can understand why Musk left Doge, by the way, because Trump's policies again are really hurting his industries. So he has something called a gigafactory in Shanghai, right? I don't know exactly what a gigafactory is, but it just sounds insane. And Musk, he's had to halt his plans for US production of his cybercab and his semi-electric vehicles. And a lot of that is to do with the current Trump trade policies, by the way. And in other news, right, so before I end, I want to talk about Britain, because Britain is my hometown, my home country. So Britain's news this week that Britain is now spending more on its defense, okay? So Keir Starmer's come out and he's pledged to spend 2.5% of GDP on defense by 2027, and he said he might raise this to 3% by 2030. There's been a lot of criticism about this. There are a lot of people saying, where are you going to get that money from? And a lot of other critics saying how 3% will still not be enough. You have to understand just how dire a situation Britain is right now, where the government, at least, I think a lot of the British entrepreneurs are doing quite well, especially in tech and media and stuff. But in terms of the government, they don't necessarily have the funds for this. That's what the criticism is. And this is now the biggest defense spending since the end of the Cold War. I'm showing you a graph on the screen right now, and it shows you how Britain's defense spending has dwindled since the 1960s and maybe even before that. This is because, you know, this is to do with the loss of a British empire. Britain hasn't been the same since the loss of its empire. This defense spending would put Britain at its highest level since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Britain intends on building 12 new attack submarines as part of its strategic defense review. And, you know, these are nuclear-powered vessels, by the way. These vessels can detect, target, engage enemy submarines, launch cruise missiles against enemy land targets, and gather intelligence on adversaries. It could be, right? The thing is, right, Britain's navy has historically been its thing. Yeah, Britain's navy was the thing that ruled the waves. It's the thing that got it the empire. The empire in which the sun never set. Oh, man, R.I.P., man. And Britain is now, I'm thinking, like, could this be actually kind of cool? Like Britain reasserting itself on the world stage again in a little bit of a way. So long as like we're partnered with America. Because that's the story of Britain for the last like 80 years. So, like, yeah, we're going to play our part if America comes with us. That's basically Britain. That was a Tony Blair, that was Margaret Thatcher. Mind you, I think Thatcher was a bit better than Blair. And that I think, remember, Thatcher was like doing neoliberalism before Reagan was, you know, so, you know, that's pretty cool. But is this Britain now going, yeah, we're a player again? Because I don't know, maybe. But is this Britain now doing, because Britain's part of AUKUS, right? So it's in an alliance with Australia and America, and they might be getting involved in the Indo-Pacific with America because of the growing threats by China. Will it be enough? There's, you know, some people who say that that money could be better spent elsewhere. You know, Britain right now, as of 2022 anyway, it's got 22% of Brits are in poverty. That's insane for a rich and developed country like Britain. Like, when the hell did things get this bad? Where you got 22% of your population in poverty, over 300,000 of them homeless. So a lot of people are saying, could that money be better spent on these issues? But a lot of people in the centre-right camp are saying, well, no, man, the world's tough. You got to just get your stuff together, man. Do your best, man. This is becoming a ruthless world. We've got to do our best, and you can do your best if you just believe in yourself, man. I know that luck and circumstance have massive. I'm very aware of the nature nurture debate, by the way. I'm very aware that, you know, hard work isn't everything. You have to be a bit lucky. You have to have some right connections and stuff. Yeah, I get that, but you can also work your way up. I very much believe in man's ability to master his own fate. I believe in that stuff, and I think psychologically you can only benefit when you think like that, which is why I position myself as centre right. Anyway, look, guys, these episodes could be longer if I just get more time off work to just like research even more, man, because I could talk for days, man. This is the world order we live in, man. It's so interesting right now, man. I've got an episode coming up which is going to be like slightly different. It's just going to be on World Order Does Culture, where I talk about all those books in the background. It's going to be sick, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Guys, if you've enjoyed this video, then do give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe. World Order now plans on releasing these kind of weekly episodes every Friday night to keep you guys entertained. explained, okay? Think of it like, you know, I watched this guy called Ben Norton on Geopolitical Economy Report, and I've modeled the World Order show, actually, in some ways based on his show. I'm going to be totally honest about that. Even though he's on the other side of the spectrum, he's center-left/left, I'm center-right. But I feel like I'm releasing it Friday night because I think I can make you laugh a bit more. I bet you anything. Like, that guy takes things very seriously, and rightly so. He's really good. He's so good at his job. I would highly recommend everyone check him out, by the way. If you haven't already, you probably already do. But he does such a great work with analysis and data. But if you want the vibes, man, if you want to have a good time on a Friday night just laughing about this stuff, come here, man. But watch him and then come here and then just take it easy, because it's not all doom and gloom, guys. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the world right now. AI, man, I'm hyped for AI. Maybe for that bit just before it becomes a Terminator and takes over and stuff. But there's definitely grounds to be good, positive, man. Hit the like button, subscribe, and yeah, leave a comment. If you've enjoyed this, leave a comment, because it really helps to grow the channel. Follow me on all available social media. I'll leave them in the description below. And yeah, subscribe, because then I can start taking money and investing it in the World Order Saga, man. The World Order Saga is so sick, man. Tragedy of Prince Faisal, modern classic, man. J.K. Rowling's got no... Okay, that's going a bit far, but I bet you anything Black Rider would take Voldemort, man. Black Rider would have Voldemort for breakfast, man. I'm telling you right now, man. So check out the Tragedy of Prince Faisal, and then go watch me in the Teen Story. I'm the kid from a Teen Story, but I'm now grown up, okay? So check that out. Guys, see you around, and I'll see you next week. See you next week, man. See you next week.